DOJ fires Alina Habba as U.S. Attorney in NJ after judges reject appointment. Breaking news. Imagine a high-stakes tug-of-war between the White House and the courts, where a top Justice Department job in New Jersey suddenly becomes a battleground for power and politics. That's exactly what unfolded when the Department of Justice swiftly removed a newly appointed U.S. Attorney, leaving everyone wondering who really calls the shots in our government. Let's break this down step by step. It all started when federal judges in New Jersey decided not to keep Alina Habba in her interim role as U.S. Attorney. Habba, a staunch ally of President Trump, had been tapped for the position, but the judges opted instead to promote Desiree Leigh Grace, who was already serving as the first assistant U.S. Attorney in the state. This move came after Attorney General Pam Bondi made a bold announcement on social media, firing back at what she called politically minded judges. Bondi argued that this interference threatened the president's core constitutional powers, specifically those outlined in Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution, which gives the executive branch authority over federal appointments. To put it in simpler terms, Article 2 is like the rulebook that lets the president pick key officials, but it often bumps up against the checks and balances from other branches, creating tension that can feel like a real-life game of chess. But here's where it gets controversial. Bondi's statement didn't hold back, accusing the judges of overstepping and undermining the president's choices. She pointed out that by replacing Habba with Grace, the judges were meddling in executive affairs. As a result, Grace was quickly removed from her new role, throwing the leadership of New Jersey's top federal prosecutor's office into chaos. People are now scratching their heads over whether this removal even sticks or if the judges might fight back. And this is the part most people miss. The timeline for Habba's interim appointment is murky. According to the order from Chief Judge Renee Marie Baum, Grace's appointment was supposed to kick in on July 22, 2025, or 120 days after Habba's start, whichever came later. Habba was sworn in on March 28, so her term might not end until late July, depending on how you interpret the rules. Interim appointments like this are temporary fixes when a permanent U.S. attorney hasn't been confirmed by the Senate, and they're limited to 120 days unless extended by the local district court. It's a system designed to keep things running smoothly, but it can lead to conflicts when opinions clash. Habba isn't just any appointee. She has a deep history with Trump, having worked as his campaign spokesperson and personal attorney. She defended him in a high-profile civil fraud trial back in 2023 and 2024, and after Trump's re-election, she served as a counselor in the White House before landing this U.S. Attorney gig. Trump formally nominated her for a full 4-year term on July 1st, but her confirmation is still hanging in the balance, waiting for a vote from the Senate Judiciary Committee and then the full Senate. This limbo state has led to whispers that Trump might try to reappoint her or find another way around the roadblocks, though it's unclear if Habba would even want that. Adding to the drama, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche jumped into the fray with his own fiery statement on social media, blasting the New Jersey judges for pushing Habba out before her term supposedly ends on Friday. He claimed their actions were driven by a left-wing agenda rather than a commitment to justice, and he warned that when judges act more like activists, it erodes trust in the whole system. Blanche had earlier pushed for the judges to keep Habba in place indefinitely, while she waited for Senate approval, emphasizing that she had the full backing of Justice Department leaders. And this isn't an isolated incident. Habba is the second Trump nominee to hit snags with either the courts or the Senate. Back in May, the Senate Judiciary Committee shot down Trump's pick for the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, Ed Martin, in a rare move that highlights how uncommon it is for multiple high-profile appointments to face such strong opposition. Typically, these processes move forward with less drama, but when they don't, it raises big questions about how our government balances power. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room: This whole saga could be seen as a bold defense of presidential authority, or, conversely, a worrying sign of judicial overreach. Some might argue that the judges are just doing their job to ensure impartiality, while others see the DOJ's response as a necessary pushback against interference. What do you think? Should the president have more leeway in appointing allies, or is this a wake-up call for stronger checks and balances? I'd love to hear your take in the comments. Let's get a conversation going on whether this is about protecting democracy or playing political games. DOJ fires U.S. Attorney for New Jersey after state picks her over former Trump lawyer Alina Habba. Imagine the shockwaves that rippled through the legal community when the Department of Justice, DOJ, abruptly terminated Desiree Leigh Grace from her position as the U.S. Attorney for the District of New Jersey. This dramatic move came just hours after federal judges in the state had selected her over President Donald Trump's preferred candidate, Alina Habba. But here's where it gets controversial. The DOJ's decision has sparked a heated debate about the balance of power between the executive and judicial branches. Let's dive into the details. On July 22, 2025, the DOJ announced that Grace, who had been appointed as the U.S. Attorney, was fired. This decision followed the federal judge's refusal to appoint Habba, Trump's former personal attorney, as the state's top federal prosecutor on a permanent basis. Trump had initially appointed Habba as the acting U.S. Attorney in March 2025. The judge's decision set the stage for Grace's appointment and Habba's subsequent dismissal. Attorney General Pam Bondi took to social media platform X to announce Grace's firing, stating, "This Department of Justice does not tolerate rogue judges, especially when they threaten the president's core Article 2 powers." This statement has raised eyebrows and sparked discussions about the extent of the president's authority versus the judiciary's independence. Grace, who had been Habba's first assistant, was elevated to the top job by district judges, effectively leading to Habba's ouster. Habba was awaiting Senate confirmation when her 120-day term as acting U.S. Attorney expired. Federal law grants district judges the authority to name a U.S. Attorney if the president's nominee is not confirmed by the Senate within 120 days. Previous administrations have acknowledged this authority, but the Trump Justice Department's stance on this matter remains unclear. Grace, a seasoned prosecutor with 9 years of experience, had previously led the New Jersey office's criminal division. Habba, on the other hand, had served as Trump's legal spokesperson in several high-profile cases post his presidency. When Trump resumed his presidency this year, Habba was one of at least 4 of his defense attorneys appointed to key administration posts, including Todd Blanche, Emil Bove, and John Sauer. Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, expressed his support for Habba on social media, stating, "Alina is President Trump's choice to lead. No partisan bench can override that." This comment has fueled the debate about whether judicial appointments should be influenced by political affiliations. During her tenure as acting U.S. Attorney, Habba made headlines with her involvement in politically charged cases. She brought prosecutions against Newark Mayor Ras Baraka and U.S. Representative LaMonica McIver, both Democrats. Additionally, she challenged New Jersey State Police over sanctuary policies related to immigration enforcement. These actions have led some to question the impartiality of her appointments and decisions. And this is the part most people miss. The controversy surrounding Habba's appointment and subsequent dismissal highlights the delicate balance between executive authority and judicial independence. It raises important questions about the role of politics in legal appointments and the potential for partisan influence in the justice system. So what do you think? Should the president's nominees always be confirmed, or should judicial independence play a more significant role in these decisions? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep the conversation going and explore the nuances of this complex issue together.